help me? Oh, okay. Now, I don't know about you, but personally, when I go into a restaurant and literally can't even read the menu, I start to get immediately uncomfortable. Now, for me, this is usually at like French restaurants, and it immediately just kind of puts me on my heels. Either you ask the waiter and expose the tremendous amount of ignorance that you possess, or you end up picking something just because you know what it is, not necessarily because it's good. It's sad because most people go with the latter, a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush, but potentially miss out on trying something new. And it's not even because they were intimidated by the food, they were just intimidated by the situation. Now, I can't fix the French or how they handle vowels, but what I can do is at least give you some sort of tools to conquer one of the most commonly avoided menu sections, the Japanese sake list. Now, I know I'm not the only one that's noticed this, but recently the Japanese restaurant industry, particularly in America, has just exploded. It's been continuously exploding for the past 5 years, even projected to grow by 11% in 2021. This makes waves of its own. One of the most affected industries is the sake industry. Out of nowhere, the US has completely taken the #1 spot of importer of Japanese sake, and you know that when there's some sort of monthly box subscription surrounding some product, it's really got some gusto behind it. You saw this very similarly with boba back in like the early 2010s, and look where that is now. So, if you want to be ahead of the curve on this one and don't want to be left in the dust, let's go ahead and give you some tools to effectively determine a perfect sake for your meal the next time you visit your local sushi joint. Let's look at those menus. Now, first, let's throw out some examples and start from there. Now, these two are from local Dallas Japanese restaurants, and I'm already beginning to see quite an interesting pattern. Essentially, each sake's name is the perfect equation to getting a good guess as far as how it will taste. First, we have the brand. The brand is oftentimes coupled with maybe that batch's particular name, and for now, it's not that important. For advanced drinkers, a specific brewery or a specific area might indicate the water source or the type of rice being used, which also very much factor into the flavor profile. But obviously that makes absolutely no relevance to beginners. So unless you really, really like it and want to drink it again, pay no mind to the actual brewery or the specific batch name. For beginning or for advanced, the next couple of words actually mean the most with regards to the overall flavor. First of all, recognize if the word junmai is anywhere present in the name. Junmai simply means pure rice sake. It means that there's no additives beyond the rice, water, yeast, and koji used to produce it. I want to be very clear, it is not an indicator of quality. It is just an indicator of production method, and oftentimes junmai sake can have a fuller taste. It is the last word that ultimately means the most for beginner sake drinkers. The last word in a sake's name refers to its rice polish ratio. When creating sake, it's really important to polish down rice to its more starchy white core. The more of the shell that you remove, the more pure, aromatic, smooth, and overall elegant the sake generally is. And also the more expensive. Obviously, there's a lot more rice that is needed if you're polishing away over 50% of it. If the sake's name just says junmai or honjozo, that means that 70% of the rice kernel has remained after the polishing process. If the name says junmai ginjo or just ginjo, it means that 60% remains. And finally, if the name says junmai daiginjo or just daiginjo, that means that 50% of the kernel is all that remains left. If you did an experiment where you used the exact same production materials and only changed the overall polishing ratio, the more rice you polish away, the clearer, cleaner, and more elegant the flavor would be produced. The ginjo and above variety are also very much well known for their aromatic scents. They have a very fruity or floral aroma. In fact, many sake sommeliers can tell if they're about to drink a ginjo or daiginjo just because of its smell. If you truly memorize those 3 buckets and then throw in whether or not you want something to taste full or light, you can get a really good estimate as far as what a sake will taste like. Combine that with any tasting or smelling notes the restaurant provides, and there should be no more mystery left behind this curtain. If there are any overachievers in the audience who would also like to have some words in their back pocket to really hone in on what they're looking for, I have a few that also refer to how the sake is produced. Nigori is one of the most popular types of American sake. It's the cloudy one that you'll often see listed on the menu. A lot of people refer to this as unfiltered sake. I repeat, there is no unfiltered sake. I got roasted in my class because of this. Nigori is actually just coarsely filtered. It is actually illegal to produce unfiltered sake. Nigori is great because it has a wide range of flavors, but because of its milky texture, it couples really, really nicely with spicy food. Kimoto and Yamahai are also words that refer to production methods, meaning that that sake has been produced using more traditional methods. These are rather rare, but because the way they produce this allows the lactic acid to come about naturally versus being artificially inserted into the batch, the flavors on this can get buck wild. They are pretty rare, but the times I've had them, they've ranged from just a nice umami flavor to earthy, to ones that I would never, ever, ever try again. This is something I would probably not recommend for beginner sake drinkers. And then lastly, you have something called namazake. Namazake means that out of the 2 pasteurization periods that most sake goes through, it actually skipped one of them. This actually happens to be one of my overall favorites. It's really great in the summer and spring periods because it has a refreshing type of taste. If you need a recommendation, I highly, highly, highly recommend Red Snapper. It is by far my favorite sake, and it's phenomenal year-round. I know I just said it's great for summer months, but you know, it's my fave. It's like eating soup in the summer. And that, my friends, is how you can avoid a possibly traumatizing experience at your next visit to a Japanese restaurant. Leave a comment below if you happen to use this video to try something new and whether or not you liked it or didn't. I'd be more than happy to add any notes into any future sake videos if I missed something in this one. Thank you so much for joining me here today. It's nice to be back behind the camera after producing my huge, super long commentary video and do something a bit more brief and light. My goal is to start producing 1 video a week, at least for the next 6 weeks to try it out. So I hope you like what I have in store for you. You can go ahead and follow me on TikTok. I'm actually kind of abandoning my Instagram for now. I'm trying to focus on maybe 2 types of social media. So TikTok is SideQuesting Life, as well as my Twitter, which is SideQuestin Life, because it was a little bit too long of a name. Thank you again for joining me here today, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.